Hey guys, I'm Daniel and this is Cassie with the Joyful Roberts Group. Welcome to our Thursday live video with step 7 of the home buying process. So today we're talking about pretty much everyone's favorite part, which is the actual home search process. So if you've watched HGTV, you may have some idea of what this looks like, but you also may have a very glamorized version of what this looks like. So we're going to talk about this process a bit and also go into some of the nitty-gritty details of what you should look for during this process and what it might look like. So the first thing is after you have your pre-approval letter, which we talked about, I think that was last week, it means you're ready to actually look for a home. So once you're ready, you talk to your agent about what your wants are and what your needs are, meaning what can you not live without in a home and what are some things that you would like but aren't necessarily a requirement for you to have a home. So examples of needs might be a certain number of bedrooms because you have kids that each need their own room. It might be a distance from work that you really don't want to say go more than 30 minutes every day to and from work. You might have a requirement as you need a garage because you want a place to keep all your tools and shop equipment. Whereas examples of wants might be you'd really like a shop but a garage would do, or you might really want to be in a certain city, but really you only care about the overall distance from work. So for everyone, the wants and needs are going to be a little different, and it's good to be specific. And the more specific you are with your agent, the more they'll be able to help you find your home. It's also good to think about, I think we've talked about this before, but why you're actually looking for a home can determine some of the things that you are looking for. It might determine your wants and needs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's important to notice or to understand is that your wants and needs might sometimes change as you look at different homes. So sometimes the market just might not be, like say one of your needs is that it has to be under $400,000, whereas some of the other needs you have, it might just not be possible to get that kind of home for that price. So as you go along, a lot of times sometimes the price limit, you find a way to adjust it. Sometimes your expectations just have to change a little bit. And this is something that can be a little disappointing at first, but as you talk to your agent and work through some of the details of what might be possible, usually you'll be able to find out something that works.
Yeah. And once you've shared those details with your agent, that's when you can really dive into the home search process. So your agent will use something called a multiple listing service. And this is a database just for real estate agents that has all the homes that are on the market, as well as a lot of those finer details that you're not going to find on a public listing like on Zillow or Redfin. So that's why your agent is going to be constantly looking on the multiple listing service to see the homes that'll fit your criteria, as well as get a deep dive into them to make sure they really do fit you. When you're looking at these homes online, like Zillow or Redfin, make sure that you are also looking at some of the finer details that are listed on those. So when you're looking, it's easy to get caught up in just how beautiful the pictures are, but you also want to look at some of the other details like when the home was built, what neighborhood it's in, what the things like home owner association regulations, the zoning for the home, and even things down to future development plans for that area, because that could impact how you enjoy the home years down the road.
Yeah. So once you've looked at all these things and found homes you're ready to see, it's time to start scheduling tours. So when you schedule tours, it's important to see as many homes as you can in one trip without being too overwhelmed by seeing so many homes that you can't remember the details of each home. So we found a sweet spot is about 3 to 4 homes, which sometimes is possible, but sometimes if the inventory is low, like we're seeing right now, or if your needs are really specific, you might find that you can only see one home at a time, and it might take weeks in between if the type of home you're looking at or looking for just isn't coming on the market very often. So when that's the case, it's important to see the home right away, because sometimes if it's the exact home that a lot of people are looking for, there could be multiple offers on the home. So yeah, when you're actually in the home touring, you want to make sure that you're abiding by the rules that the sellers put in place or the requests that they have. So right now, because we're in the middle of the coronavirus, one of the big things is to wear a mask, gloves, booties, and not to touch anything. So even if you may particularly not be a fan of wearing a mask or gloves or following all those protocols, if the seller has requested it, it's really important to do so, because you don't want to create tension or a rift between you and the seller before you even go under contract on the home.
Yeah. And thanks for whoever sent us that love. That was nice. So once you enter the home, oftentimes your imagination is going to go into overdrive, imagining yourself in the home and what your future would look like there. And sometimes you're going to walk into homes that don't have the aesthetics or the organization that you would like to have in your home. And at those times, it can be a lot harder to imagine yourself there. But we want to encourage you to look past some of the more superficial details so that you don't miss out on a home that would be a good fit, but just the way that the owners are using it doesn't fit you now. So some of the things, though, that you do want to slow down and look for that are some of those bigger details are things like smell. When you walk into a home and you're noticing a smell right away, especially if it's a bad one, that's not a good sign. You don't want to be smelling things because it could be a sign of mold or pet urine. And even homes that are filled with a lot of artificial smells, like you walk in, you're like, whoa, that's overpowering. That could mean that they're trying to hide a smell. And we've seen that before. So keep an eye out for those things. Another thing is water damage. So when you're going around the home, checking things like floors, if they're feeling spongy, looking at the ceiling, seeing if there's obvious water damage. Sometimes if there's water damage in an area, they'll fix the ceiling in like a main living space, but we'll forget the closet. So checking the closet ceilings. Looking at things like crack caulking around sinks or toilets could mean that water has been getting under there and causing water damage. Window frames, if they're looking like they're really worse for wear and cracked and wearing away, that could mean there wasn't proper flashing installed or there's a drainage issue off the roof. So keep an eye out for all that.
Yeah, and sometimes all these issues might just mean that there's not like a chronic problem. It might just be something that it was a one-time thing, and if the market's not too competitive, you might be able to get some money off of the home because of those issues if you find them. But sometimes issues like water damage can be from a recurring problem, and those are the kind of things that it's not just as easy as spending a little bit of money and fixing it. So one example of this is if the home is right at a slope. So if there's a hill and there's water coming down and constantly butting up against the side of the house, a lot of time that's going to cause chronic water damage, meaning that it's not just a simple fix. And there's not really a way to make it go away, sometimes without doing expensive drainage solutions. So things like that, making sure that there's the slope around the home is making water go away from the home, making sure that the roof's not leaking, causing constant water damage in the ceilings. So things like that, it can help you or figure out if it's going to be a recurring issue or just a one-time thing that happened because someone left the sink on too long one time. Another thing is foundations. So sometimes foundations will have cracks. Actually, most foundations will have some amount of cracks in them. But what you want to look for is cracks that are wider than a quarter, meaning you can put a quarter in, or that are diagonal, meaning that rather than just going straight up and down, they're actually going kind of in a slanted motion. And if you see that, in addition to in the home, doors aren't often closing all the way, that usually means that the foundation is actually shifting. So it's not just settlement, it's actually the home is not stable on its foundation, and that can be really expensive to repair, and we've seen situations where that's the case.
Yeah.
So one thing that's important to keep in mind with all of these things is that it's important to be patient. So sometimes the most important thing to you might be just getting into a house right away, and you can make a lot of sacrifices, or you're only going to be in there a few years, so you can put up with a lot before you move again. But if you're looking for a home you want to be in a long time and you have really specific requirements, it's important to stay patient, especially in times like now where inventory is a little bit lower, meaning that not as many homes are selling right away. So there's a lot of buyers looking, but not many people are putting their homes up for sale. So in these cases, it's important to be patient and just know that even if your neighbor or friend got their home on the first try, it doesn't mean that it needs to be the same for you, or even that anything's wrong. So even if it takes a few months or even more, just understand that sometimes that's a part of the process.
Yeah, and throughout the process, don't ever stop asking your agent questions. Like we say over and over again, like you want to be educated, you want to feel comfortable with the decisions that you're making throughout the entire process. And especially in the home search process, you want to really take deep dives into these homes and feel like you are comfortable putting in that offer. One thing you could do is we wrote a blog post on this topic, so you can always print that out. It has all these details. You could take notes on it. You could take it with you so that you have them when you go to home tour, so you know what to be looking for. And if you've missed any of the other previous weeks where we've talked about each step in the home search process up to this point, you can find it on the link in the description. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and if you or a friend or family member is at that stage where they have questions about the home ownership process and they don't know where to go, please feel free to reach out to us and ask questions. So if you go to our Facebook site or our website, you can find our phone number on there or email. We love helping educate people throughout this process, even if it's a ways down the road. This is a long process. This isn't just something that happens overnight. And we like helping people make sure they're set up before they're actually to this stage buying a home. But if you're at this stage where you're looking at homes, please reach out. We'd love to answer any questions you might have. All right, everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.